Okay, guys.
So our plan is to save the Salton Sea.
Okay. The first step in our plan is to get people to care, because without popular support, it's hard to really get anything done. And to do this, we'd like to target the people in California mostly, because it's probably a state issue, so it's probably gonna go to state legislature. And we want to do this with a tourism campaign to show the potential benefits of the Salton Sea, how it could be the tourist attraction it once was. And we're hoping this would get the public interested in it, and force lawmakers to take action. And this is kind of what it would look like.
So it's really inexpensive real estate in California, which is not common to find, and so it would encourage people to invest in the lots.
Alright, so California's biggest body of water, it's located on the beautiful Salton Sea, and lots sold should be made into vacation homes, and that's how we'd raise money.
What we want to do is, we want to try to get fresh water flowing into the Salton Sea, and salt water, flowing out of it, because then it would just increase the salinity level of the water, and increase the oxygen level, which is our ultimate goal.
There's too much salt in the water, and it comes from the Colorado River, which is a relatively salty river. And in the summer, about 6 feet of water evaporates each year, however the salt is left behind. So there's 4 million tons of new salt each year, and it pollutes the fish, it makes the area smell bad, and does all that stuff.
Once the saltwater water reaches 45 parts per thousand, the fish in the sea are not going to be able to reproduce effectively. The newborn fish will be less salt tolerant and will eventually die off. This will affect the birds in the area who depend on these fish for food.
So the salt's really causing a problem in the lack, there's less water and more salt each year. It causes a huge problem.
Most environmental groups, they don't really care about the fish themselves, because most of the fish in the Salton Sea are extremely common fish. And the main reason why it's such an ecological disaster is because of the birds in the area. And during the winter migration season, approximately 2 to 3 million birds use the sea for food every day. And without the sea for food, their reproduction cycle will be disrupted, and they will be able to reproduce as well, and their population will diminish. And if the sea becomes much saltier, it could wipe out the population of the birds who depend on it, because they don't really have anywhere else to go in their migratory routes, because there's not that much water in the desert.
The sea has an alarmingly low oxygen level, and in the summer there are times when only the first few feet of water get any oxygen in it at all. So the low oxygen level is caused by the vegetation, the fish, and the heat. So all those combine to help evaporate the water and create more salt.
Right, the fish in the sea respire oxygen, and as the vegetation dies, oxygen is absorbed from the water to help it decay, and since the sea is so nutrient-rich, vegetation is always growing as well. The heat makes it harder for the water to carry oxygen because of all the nutrients it is using up all the oxygen.
So, as you can see, the main problem is the salt level and the low oxygen, and that's what we need to fix.
Our plan is to construct a desalination plant near the Salton Sea.
Desalination plants are complexes that turn salt water into fresh water by boiling the water at less than atmospheric pressure and thus lower temperature. One of these built near the Salton Sea, pumping salt water out of the sea and fresh water into the sea, would rejuvenate the dying sea.
Why desalination would work in this situation? One of the reasons why desalination is isn't really that used is because it's really energy it's really expensive, like energy-wise. It takes 15 times more energy to desalinate like water compared to freshwater sources. However, since the Salton Sea is super hot, it kind of cuts down on energy use because the water in the Salton Sea can get up to 90 degrees. And since it's already up to 90 degrees, it can be boiled like much easier because you don't have to take as much energy to make it hot.
So the heat works in the favor. The initial heat of the water will significantly cut down the price of the boiling, like we said, and the plant itself produces some energy through hydroelectric energy. However, desalination centers are extremely expensive to make, and even with decreased energy costs, this would be the biggest hurdle to overcome.
Our goal is to try and minimize public spending on the project by maximizing private investment in the plant. We think that by showing potential investors what a great tourist destination the Salton Sea could be, businessmen will be motivated to help clean it up to capitalize on the payout.